What's up, Ego Hackers? Welcome to the C.S. Joseph podcast. I'm your host, C.S. Joseph. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about abuse and the dark side of the Quadras. New 4 or 5 part episode series that is going to be added to season 17. Basically, season 17, part 2. Talking about Quadra related topics. And since we've been discussing Quadra aspects in terms of Alpha, Beta, Gamma, and Delta Quadra, also known as Crusaders, Templars, Wayfarers, and Philosopher types, there still is many more behaviors from which these types, behave or behave typically, and we're going to be discussing each of those. And why not study the topic of abuse? It's a necessary topic. A lot of people don't really understand abuse, and at least the nature of abuse. People don't understand codependency, and they don't understand attachment styles and these different theories, these psychological theories. And, let me just remind everyone, I'm not a psychiatrist. I really don't have anything to do with it. I'm here basically to talk about psychology and the study of the human mind, the human brain, ultimately, and what that means. The study of the soul, basically, but not psychiatry. I don't make prescriptions like, drug prescriptions and the like. I don't like calling people narcissists or claiming that people have borderline personality disorder with these XYZ labels that so easily can become their identity, especially if they're Templar types. Because Templar types are at the weakest of being gaslit by labels, and they have to be protected as a result. Be that as it may, though, Crusader types, which is what this episode is about, Alpha Quadra, Crusader abuse, how Crusaders abuse people collectively as SFJs and NTPs, and it's pretty fascinating. These are the types that have a tendency to set people up for failure the most, really. They don't even know they're doing it sometimes. And that's one of the things about abuse in the Quadras, is that the 4 Quadras, when they become abusive, they're not exactly aware that they are being abusive. It's one of the reasons why philosopher types end up oftentimes as psychiatrists, because they're trying to come up with ways to label or articulate the abuse that they have received from other people, and then also help other people have the same thing going on for them, to help other people articulate and put labels on abuse in order to prevent said abuse, basically. Which makes a lot of sense, especially since half of the philosophers are authority types, all about power and having to struggle with feelings of powerlessness, or the other half, the justification types, where they just don't feel any power whatsoever until at least they have a justification or an excuse to do something. They only feel empowered when they are justified. So that can end up creating a lot of issues, over time. But when it comes to Crusaders, Crusader abuse is actually extremely subtle. It's very hard to detect. Very hard to detect. Although it becomes the most painfully obvious when you actually look at INTPs. INTP's virtue and vice, right? Being entirely attentive, and then, or on one extreme, which is their virtue, or their vice of being entirely apathetic, which is like willful ignoring, willful negligence, basically. And at least, the INTPs are kind of obvious about it. But it's the ENTPs, the ISFJs, and the ESFJs who are not obvious about it at all. And because it's not obvious, a lot of people don't even know that they're being abused by a Crusader type. And a lot of people, and even more so, the Crusaders themselves do not believe that they are abusers. Because, this is going to sound really screwed up, but Crusaders oftentimes feel like they deserve to be abusive. So they would never actually label it abusive because they, quote, deserve it, you know. Welcome to extroverted feeling, right? Deserving it. Deserving it is not exactly the greatest thing in the world. You know, there's going to be an overarching theme to these episodes, but that's basically comes from James chapter 4, which is, you know, when you judge other people, you are judging the law and you are not keeping it. And honestly, there's only one judge. There's only one lawgiver, and that is the one who has the power to save and destroy. But who are you to judge your neighbor, basically? This is an ESTP talking. James, the brother of Jesus, he's an ESTP. And this ESTP basically wrote that because everyone's getting so judgy. Well, Crusader types are insanely judgy. And they end up believing or misjudging that they deserve to basically be abusive to other people. Now, we've talked a lot about Crusader types and how they've had the tendency to, you know, covert contract other people, right? All about covert contracts, you know. And that's great. Covert contracts, that's great and whatnot, but covert contracts being, you know, hey, if I do something for you, I expect to get something in return from you, even though I'm not going to tell you about it. It's just some unspoken rule. It's just some assumed thing, basically. Some kind of assumed thing. And that's entirely ridiculous. But, you know, covert contracts ultimately become, like, it's a symptom of the abuse problem. The root of the abuse, basically, while similar to apathy, it's not exactly apathy itself. Apathy is just like an expression of the abuse that Crusaders end up finding themselves in situations where they deserve to abuse other people. And to be fair, I too am actually very, very guilty of doing this. I'm actually guilty of doing this in almost every single one of my sexual relationships that I've ever had. And it's something that I've had to struggle with, especially being an unconscious developed, unconscious focused variant of a Crusader type, the ENTP, you know, with my octagram being the way it is. And I spend all of my living virtues on myself. My two living virtues of modesty and also my primary living virtue, which is compassion. And I end up spending all those things on myself instead of giving them to other people. The reason why is because I never gave myself permission to be sinful, basically. I never gave myself permission to be the envy in the room. I never gave myself permission to be the vainglorious person in the room. And because of that, I'm not able to spend my living virtues outward because I'm spending my deadly sins outward, and I'm giving my deadly sin out while I am taking all and anything I could possibly get from my living virtues and spending them on myself. Which, if you think about it, that too is sinful and ultimately problematic from an octagram perspective, from a neutral perspective. So what ends up happening is that changes have to be made. Changes ultimately have to be made. The problem is, though, is that Crusader types are extremely, especially ENTPs, because extroverted sensing demon, you know, are extremely, like, just like all of the other 16 types, like, just like all the 16 types, that, like, everyone is abusive in some way, but Crusaders are abusive in a specific way, and that is through negligence, neglect. literal neglect. The reason why is because Crusader types, they're all about how everyone else feels. They're all about what everyone else wants. So they're seeking consistently to give other people what they want, to give other people what they value, to satisfy others, or to help other people explore new things. And the thing is that the Crusaders do this because they are projecting that onto other people, because they themselves desperately would love to be satisfied. They themselves would desperately like to explore new things. But from their perspective, they often do not get permission to do so. They often are not allowed to do so because they're introverted sensors. They focus on on doing what they should and not necessarily what they want to do. So from their perspective, they have to feel like they deserve it before they actually go out of their way to satisfy themselves, or go discover new things on their own or for themselves, or do anything for the sake of themselves. They believe they have to deserve it. They believe that they have had to have earned it, basically. Now, what better way, through cognitive projection, can a Crusader feel like they deserve something? By giving it to somebody else. So if they work hard to satisfy other people or to promote discovery in other people's lives, these two cognitive origins, what ends up happening is that the Crusader types end up believing that they have earned something, that they have earned the right to be satisfied, and they have earned the right to go discover and explore new things in their lives because they have given it and facilitated it for other people, right? Which, if you think about it, is technically a covert contract. That's where covert contracts come from. That's why they feel like they deserve to do this. The problem is that this deservation, or this feeling of deserving, right, ends up leading to abusive behavior. The reason why is because while they think they deserve more because they have given more, and they all do this, all Crusaders do this, they deserve more because they've given more, myself included. Oh my God, I abhor myself. Seriously, I abhor myself. I loathe myself in my propensity and potential to actually do this to people. But oftentimes, I feel like I deserve more because I have given more. And that too is a covert contract. It's a covert contract with life, basically. And it is the source. It is, it's the source of the abuse, basically. So then, we do this for other people in our lives. We work hard. We put in a lot of effort to satisfy others, or to help other people discover new things, help other people to explore. But we're not the ones in the captain's chair exploring new things. We're not the ones who are consuming, and thus, as a result of that, coming to a point where we are satisfied, basically. Oftentimes, I've heard Crusaders say, even my own self say the words, when it comes to like my own life, it really sucks that I can't eat at my own table. How come I'm satisfying everybody else, but I myself am not becoming satisfied, right? Well, it's because it's my own choice. It's my own personal choice. Because I have this covert contract with life where if I give more, I get to deserve more. If I give satisfaction, that means I deserve satisfaction, right? If I give respect, I deserve respect, right? Right? If I help other people discover new things, I deserve discovery, right? Right? No. That's not true. But the thing is that Crusaders in general can't help but think that this is true. Because from their perspective, they really want life to be fair. We talked about in the Quadra episodes, within season 17, part 1. And the reality of the situation is, life isn't fair. But Crusaders work really, really hard to continue to make life fair as much as possible, to the point where it's like entirely annoying, very annoying. And it just ends up becoming like a huge problem. Because what ends up happening after they have basically served up satisfaction, served up discovery to other people, and in my case, my secondary origin is reverence. I serve up respect to others, right? Or if you look at Body Temple Crusaders, their secondary origin is purpose. They serve up purpose to other people and give other people purpose. And they want to have purpose themselves, basically. These four origins are interacting together. And when we give that to other people, we expect to receive that from others because we deserve it. And then when we do not get it from other people, we become bitter. It starts out with resentment. But if that resentment is, if we don't get those cognitive origins back in return, that resentment grows and it grows and it grows and it becomes bitterness. We become entirely bitter to the point where that bitterness will just end up creating hatred towards people in our lives, including our lovers, including our children, including our parents, members of our family, our friends, the closest people to us. We will just become entirely bitter. And it is so hard for us to have the opportunity to cast away that bitterness because from our perspective, we have this stupid belief, this unrealistic, unfair bullshit principle about, hey, if I gave much, I get much, right? And it's like, no. This means Crusaders are actually inherently very transactional. And they become very controlling of other people when this covert transaction, this covert contract is not met. Hey, we gave to you, so we deserve to take. We deserve to receive from you. But then those people don't give it to us because we never told them about this to begin with. Then we end up, resenting them, then we end up becoming bitter. And then at the end of bitterness is hatred. And then we start hating these people. And then we end up hurting people that we hate. We end up hurting people that we hate. And the hurt basically comes out in the form of abuse. And the first level of abuse is negligence. We basically start neglecting those people. We don't just stop serving up satisfaction or reverence or purpose or discovery to them. We don't just do that. We stop doing everything. We neglect them. It's like we pretend they don't even exist, basically. We don't do anything for them. No favors, no support, nothing. It's like they're dead to us. It's like they don't exist. It's like they're nothing more than maybe a mouth to feed if you're a father, or they're nothing more than they're nothing more than a burden on your life, basically, because you've given so much to them, but then you never actually established any boundaries as a Crusader. That's the problem with the Crusaders. Setting up boundaries, it's just not something we do. We're the walking doormats of the 16 types. We're very doormatish to the point where it's disgusting. Very disgusting as to how doormatish we are with our stupid victim mindsets that we have constantly. And that victim mindset literally ends up forming after we're bitter. And that victim mindset leads to the hatred, which then leads to the abuse. Because from our perspective, I've given you so much, why aren't I getting anything in return? Well, hold on. You never told them there was that expectation. And maybe you gave too much, and you gave, and that was your choice, Crusader. You made that choice. ESFJs, ISFJs, ENTPs, INTPs, you made the choice. That doesn't mean you're due anything. You made the choice. You didn't say anything. So as a result, you become abusive. You become abusive through neglecting other people, neglecting these people that you've given to, and you stop giving to them altogether. You don't just stop giving them the origin, you stop doing anything and everything for them. And it's almost as if their entire support structure has been ripped out from under them. Which is sad. And problematic. Very sad. To have that support structure ripped out from under them. And it's actually, these people don't deserve that. Because the Crusaders, Crusaders love keeping to the shadow. They love keeping to the shadows. They love to keep things unspoken where it's safe, because they want to play it safe all the time. These Crusaders. They don't have the guts to tell people, hey, I need this from you, or hey, I'm looking for this. They don't have the guts to establish boundaries. And even if they do establish boundaries, they don't have the guts to enforce those boundaries either. It's just disgusting. ENTPs, in my opinion, probably the worst. With extroverted sensing demon, introverted sensing inferior, they end up getting this victim mindset way too fast. And then they end up punishing other people through their octagram shadow pole of malevolence, end up punishing other people, spiting other people who they have given to. Because they're like, well, I'm not getting any gratitude. Well, I'm not getting any appreciation. When it was the Crusaders' choice to give in the beginning. And probably when they first gave to the person, they didn't actually intend to get anything back. But then after a while, they realized they've given so much. What about me now? What about me? When do I get to take? When do I get something in return? And it just becomes some bullshit situation where they didn't start out transactional, but they end up becoming insanely transactional. Whereas, Templars, they start out transactional, but then they become not transactional. Or it's the other way around with Crusaders. And that's worse. It's worse to end up transactional than it is to start out transactional. It's way worse. Crusaders like to walk around being so prideful, thinking like, oh, I give for the sake of giving. They actually, this is literally where they derive their self-worth. They literally derive their self-worth from this. They literally, you put Crusaders together, they'll start comparing dicks. And they'll be like, oh, hey, I've given more than you have. And it's like, really? And they'll just compare level of giving, basically. It's disgusting. It's wrong. And then they punish the people that they've given to. And then those people end up being left behind and abandoned by Crusader types in the name of justice, because it was just for me to abandon this person and rip their support structure out from underneath them because I gave to them and they didn't give back. Even though the Crusader never asked for it. Even though the Crusader never said anything about it. And the Crusader just becomes more bitter, more resentful, more hateful by the day. And then they feel justified to rip out the support structure under their fellow human beings after the fact, as a result of their bullshit victim mindset. That's me. That's me. It's one part of myself that I abhor the most. And I've had a victim mindset throughout my life. A lot of people in the ego hacker community know just how much I have suffered and how much pain I've gone through. But at the same time, like Illidan Storm Rage would claim, I am my scars. I don't want to let go of that pain. I want to grow through that pain. I want to thrive as a result of having that pain. I don't want to use that pain as a weapon, as a big club to beat other people over with it because I feel justified, right? And that pain that comes out as a result of me giving to other people but not receiving anything back. See, the problem is that Crusaders need to realize that just because they can give doesn't mean they should. Just because they can be a doormat doesn't mean that they should. One of the biggest aspects of introverted sensing when it comes to Crusader types is that Crusader types need to understand specifically what they really, really need to understand is that, while they are basically these dutiful people pleasers, they need to stop people pleasing. You have to get to a point, Crusaders, in your life where you realize that some people should not be given to. And actually, you end up giving more to other people by not giving to them. Maybe you shouldn't be everyone's support structure. Maybe you shouldn't be deriving your own self-worth based on how much of a support structure you provide other people, and instead work hard to create a support structure for yourself. Maybe you should do that. That way you're protected. Protected from your own bitterness. Protected from your own resentful behavior. Therefore, you will not cultivate abusive habits towards other people. Therefore, you are not neglecting other people because you are first not neglecting yourself. Crusader types, you need to give yourselves permission to give to yourselves first. That's the thing. That is, after all, what ESFP superego is trying to teach me every day. ESFP superego is trying to tell me, hey, you shouldn't be UDUF anymore. And to become not UDUF, you have to become UDSF. All you have to do, Chase, is instead of being around other people you envy so that you can be motivated, maybe you should be motivated to become the envy. Because after that, then you become more compassionate to other people. Because you're eating at your own table first. And that's the point. I have become so abusive in my own life to the people that I care about the most, and the people that I love the most, because I was a people pleaser, because I was a doormat, and I allowed myself to be a people pleaser. I chose that. I chose to be a doormat. I chose to give while simultaneously expecting to receive later. When that is wrong, that's not true compassion. That's not true compassion at all. It's setting up other people for failure. That's what that is. Just like Yoda said to Anakin Skywalker an ENTP archetype in Star Wars Episode 3, or is it Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, telling Anakin that the path that he's going on will lead to greed, basically, being greedy. And that's ultimately what this is all about. Greed. Because I'm UDUF, for example, my ISFJ subconscious is underdeveloped, it's body temple. So because it's underdeveloped body temple, I lean into greed and I lean into gluttony, the deadly sins of the body temple, in my ISFJ subconscious. So I get very greedy about what I've given to others, hoping to receive it back. When I should have just been giving it to them out of compassion, because I'm already giving these things to myself ahead of time. Because I am putting myself above others first. And being generative like a king for myself first. And then what's left over, there should be more of an abundance to give other people. Then I can be compassionate with that abundance. Instead of seeing myself as everyone else's servant, like I have, and giving to other people, and then expecting to receive all that back from them. That's wrong. ESFJs do the same. ISFJs do the same. INTPs do the same. They're just apathetic about it. When we all pull the chair out from under other people, we take back our support structures that we gave compassionately, only to prove that we weren't even compassionate to begin with. Hypocrites. Hypocrites. And then after it's all done, we just neglect these people, these people that we claim that we love. Just neglect them. And then all the while we claim that they're the ones neglecting us, when they never were. They just didn't know how to give to us because we never told them. We just expected that they would know. My brother-in-law once told me, actually told his sister, and then I ended up, she told Railgun, and Railgun told me. At the very beginning of our relationship, she said, open mouths get fed. That's the thing, Crusaders. Open mouths get fed. You want to be fed? Feed yourself first. But if you would like assistance from other people for you to get fed, open your mouth. Tell people. Ask people. It's okay. Stop feeling guilty. Stop feeling so selfish that you can't do that. You're a human being. You have needs too. And the more you give to other people, the more you people please, the more bitter and resentful you'll get. If you are giving to others without first giving to yourself, you are a fool. I know this because I'm foolish. And it's wrong. And it's unwise. And it becomes abusive because then you neglect the people that you love the most because you are expecting to receive from them even though there is no communication, boundary, or anything. There is no requirement. There is nothing even said. It's all unspoken crap. Because of this unspoken crap, because you're too pussy, you Crusaders are too pussy to ask to be fed. You're too afraid. Crusader types, being the types out of all of the 16 types that struggle with fear the most and being in the grip of fear the most. They're so afraid they can't even tell people what they need. Pathetic. When they should just open their hearts up to other people. Right off the get-go. Say, hey, I feel this way, or I need this. That way, there is no covert contract. That way, you're communicating and actually participating in a truly symbiotic relationship instead of allowing relationships to decay into one-sided chaos that eventually leads you, the Crusader, to abusively neglecting other people, where it's not just you are being ignorant and then choosing to neglect people, it's where you yourself are willfully negligent, gross, willful negligent of the people closest to you in your lives. I've witnessed this many times. I've witnessed this from Railgun's mother. I've witnessed this from my own mother. I've witnessed this from myself. I've witnessed this from Railgun's uncle, who is an ENTP. I've witnessed this from my INTP coworker. I've witnessed this from every single Crusader, my grandmother even, who's an ESFJ, my sister, who is an ESFJ. I have witnessed this from every single Crusader in my life. This problem is systemic. It's everywhere. And this is where Crusaders lack morality, because they will use their ethical awareness to justify and claim that it is just for them to rip their support structure that they built for other people out from under them because those people aren't supporting them when they never even asked for it to begin with. And then they abuse them by neglecting them. Pathetic. Gross. So for all of you out there who I have been negligent towards, who I have neglected, I am so sorry. I'm wrong. Forgive me. I did not know that I was being so abusive. I regret it. That's why it is written, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. If you found this lecture useful, helpful, educational, and enlightening, please subscribe to the channel and leave a comment below. We read all of the comments. If you'd like to join the community on Discord, I'm on Discord. You can talk to me directly if you want. Discord.gg/egohackers. So, anyway, folks, Ego Hacking Your Fear is about to launch. Hopefully, you guys check that out and be on the journey to personal growth and development, just like I am. And I'll see you on the course and hopefully in the masterclass. With all that being said, I'll see you guys tonight.